Hey everyone, welcome back. I want to talk with you today about Kody and what I can only describe as his ever-changing story around Coyote Pass and this so-called backdoor deal. I went back and really dug into what Kody has said over time, what he said on the show itself, versus what he's now saying in the tell-all. And interestingly enough, TLC just released a new clip that highlights these differences. It honestly makes me wonder, does TLC even realize how many times Kody's story shifts? Or does Kody himself even keep track of the things he said? When it comes to this backdoor deal, Kody has framed it differently depending on the moment. But Meri's version? That's been steady from the very beginning. According to her, she found out the property had been split without her consent, without her input, and without her approval. Then suddenly, she's backed into a corner and pressured to go along with it anyway. On top of that, they wanted her to sign a confidentiality agreement. That part alone raises eyebrows. Kody initially claimed that Janelle told him he either needed to give Meri what she wanted or force a sale of the property. But that's not quite the same thing as Janelle telling him, go force a sale. It sounds more like she told him he had to make a decision. In this situation, Janelle kind of placed herself right in the middle. Now, why does she do that? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe she was trying to keep the peace. Maybe she wanted the property sold for her own reasons. Maybe she was worried the buyer would walk away. We don't know her motivation. What we do know is that even though Janelle had a lawyer, she still chose to have private conversations with Kody about the deal. And here's where things get tricky. When lawyers are involved in property negotiations, the parties really shouldn't be having side conversations. Lawyers exist to create a record, negotiate fairly, and hold everyone accountable. Talking privately, without legal representation present, usually works against that process. So, to me, it sounds like Janelle was working both with and around her lawyer, which honestly defeats the purpose. Meri, on the other hand, handled this very differently. Once she hired a lawyer, she kept that boundary firm. Her stance was clear. This is now a legal matter, and my lawyer speaks for me. If you want to talk about it, talk to my lawyer. That approach removes some of the emotional heat and protects everyone involved. Now, Kody's version of events keeps changing. Janelle has said that Kody came to her and claimed he could force a sale, and she told him that he could. Personally, I don't think I would have said that. Sure, from a technical standpoint, maybe he could, but saying that feels a bit like telling someone, well, you could rob a bank. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Kody later told a completely different version of the story to his friend Brian in another episode. And at one point, Janelle even says, we're just going to sell this out from under Meri and Robyn. She adds that Robyn doesn't like it when Kody partners with ex-wives, which, let's be honest, doesn't exactly scream teamwork. Kody then describes trying to push Robyn into agreeing, and she flat out refused. And in his talking head, he admits something pretty shocking, that the divorce has darkened him, made him feel evil, and tempted him toward doing bad things. That's his word, not mine. So when you lay it all out, the stories don't line up. And once again, it feels like the truth is slipping around, depending on who Kody is talking to at the moment. Janelle wanted to sell. Kody wanted to sell. That much is clear. And from the outside, it really does look like Janelle was trying to be the go-between, the person hoping to create some kind of meeting of the minds. But here's where things start to feel slippery. When Kody tells this story to Brian, he leaves out a very important detail. He doesn't mention that Janelle originally told him he should work with Meri, comply with her, or at least compromise and give her what she was asking for. That part completely disappears. So once again, what Kody says depends entirely on who he's talking to at the time. In the earliest version, Janelle is positioned as the mediator. She even admits that she told Kody he could force a sale. And technically, based on how the property was structured before it was divided, that might have been true. But just because something is possible doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. What ultimately happens, though, is telling. In September, Janelle signs paperwork agreeing to be a 25% owner, not a 33% owner. Now let's pause there for a second. The property was paid for by 3 people, not 4. Those loans were paid off by 3 individuals. Kody and Robyn's income counts as one household because they're legally married, and Robyn didn't bring separate money into the deal. Kody's money is Robyn's money. So when you look at that, the math starts to feel off. As the story keeps evolving, the blame starts shifting. First, it's Robyn's fault because she doesn't want Kody partnering with ex-wives. Then Kody openly admits he wants to screw them over. His words, and he said it more than once. And now, in the tell-all, suddenly it's all being pinned on Janelle, as if Kody had nothing to do with any of it. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. There was a conversation, or maybe an agreement, that happened behind the scenes. And yes, Janelle did sign off on an agreement without consulting Meri. Yes, she put her own interests ahead of Meri's. And yes, she really should have gone through an attorney. Now let's listen to what Meri says in the tell-all. When she's asked if she knew Kody and Janelle had discussed the sale without her, she admits she suspected it. She says there were moments when she noticed Janelle wasn't bringing things up anymore, wasn't talking openly. Someone suggested she just ask Janelle directly, and Meri's response was very telling. She didn't trust her. She didn't believe Janelle would be honest, and she didn't think it would change anything, even if she asked. From Meri's point of view, she felt decisions were being made behind her back. And based on her history with Janelle, she didn't feel safe or respected enough to have that conversation. That kind of distrust doesn't come out of nowhere. My guess? In this family, decision-making has always worked more like a committee, but not a fair one. People learned to form alliances to get what they wanted. Honestly, it starts to resemble a season of Survivor. Everyone's trying to protect their own interests, and sometimes that means teaming up to outmaneuver someone else. When you live in that kind of environment long enough, people fall into unhealthy patterns. They lie. They twist the truth. They tell one person one thing and tell someone else the exact opposite. They become people pleasers, saying whatever needs to be said in the moment. And I do think Janelle, to some degree, was playing both sides, not out of malice, but to get her needs met. This is exactly why I've said before that once attorneys enter the picture, they need to be the ones doing the talking. At that point, Janelle should have stepped back and let her lawyer handle everything. She really shouldn't have been having side conversations with Kody or with Meri about the sale at all. What makes it even stranger is that so much of this seems to have happened off camera. And that raises a fair question. Just how much contact were Janelle and Kody having behind the scenes? And why did Janelle feel comfortable going to Kody with these discussions, but not to Meri? Especially when she had already warned Meri that Kody was going to try to screw her over. In a way, this feels very on brand for Janelle. We've seen this before. Back when she wanted her house built on Coyote Pass, and even during the one-house discussions, she openly admitted that she worked strategically. She said herself that when she spent time with Christine, it was sometimes about building alliances. So it does make you wonder if she was playing both sides here, building an alliance over here, another one over there, all while trying to get what she wanted in the end. And look, everyone had competing interests. That's exactly why this should have been handled strictly through lawyers. But I'll move on. Here's what Kody says about it. He claims Janelle told him, "You can force the sale," and that she's misrepresenting things because, according to him, it wasn't his idea. He says Janelle came to him with the idea and started pressuring him. He even compares it to old times in plural marriage, one wife pressuring him against the others, telling him they need to sell and that he needs to make the other women comply. Then, Kody says something very telling. He says, "You can call Meri. I can't." And that line right there says a lot. To me, that strongly suggests Kody had already been contacted by an attorney. Either Meri's lawyer sent Kody a letter directly, or the communication went lawyer to lawyer. Either way, the message would have been clear. Now that I'm retained, you are not to speak directly with my client about this dispute. And this is important to understand. What they were doing wasn't courtroom litigation. It was legal negotiation. Most legal work actually happens behind the scenes like this, with lawyers trying to resolve disputes without ever going to court. Once an attorney is involved, their role is to protect their client and manage communication. Meri did exactly what she was supposed to do. Janelle even told her to get a lawyer, and she did. Once that happened, Meri was no longer supposed to talk directly to Kody about the property. Everything had to go through her attorney. Ignoring that advice, or going around your lawyer, can seriously damage your case and even your relationship with your attorney. And let's be honest, Meri needed a lawyer because communication and trust had completely broken down. Promises weren't being kept. That's when attorneys step in and say, here's what the law requires, and here's what you're obligated to do. I truly believe that if Meri had not hired an attorney, she wouldn't have even walked away with 25%. She didn't get the 33% she arguably deserved, but without legal representation, that 25% probably never would have happened at all. So, when Kody frames this as if his hands were tied and he was just being pressured by Janelle, it comes across as disingenuous at best. He's leaving out critical context, and once again, the story he tells depends on what makes him look better in the moment. And honestly, Janelle shouldn't have been talking to Kody either. That's the part that really makes me pause and ask some hard questions. It makes me wonder whether Janelle's lawyers were ever truly involved at all. The only time we ever hear about lawyers on camera is during that Zoom call, and even then, Kody specifically asks Meri, have your lawyers reviewed this? But we never hear him say anything like that to Janelle. When Janelle signed the agreement, there was no visible involvement from attorneys. And if she did have a lawyer and was still talking directly to Kody, that's a serious problem. That's not just bending the rules, that's breaking trust with your own attorney and working against the person who's supposed to be negotiating on your behalf. So, I have to wonder if she even had an attorney at all. And if I'm being honest, my guess is that she didn't have much legal standing to begin with. Janelle was never a legal wife. That matters. There may not have been much an attorney could do for her. Meri's situation was completely different. She was a legal wife. There was shared marital property, shared equity, and a long legal history. An attorney could absolutely step in and protect Meri's interests. But again, if Janelle truly had a lawyer, she should not have been speaking to Kody directly. Period. In any other marriage, that kind of side communication would feel like a betrayal. And then for Kody to turn around and claim that Janelle was saying, you need to get these women into compliance, that's another shift in the story. Earlier, he said Janelle told him he needed to comply with Meri or force a sale. Now it's suddenly about forcing them into compliance. See how that changes? Janelle's real mistake here was having private conversations with Kody without legal protection. That opened the door for Kody to twist the narrative however he wanted. A lawyer wouldn't allow that, because everything would be documented. Then, Kody says something even more troubling. He claims Janelle suggested selling the property without Meri and paying her later. He admits it was tempting, even if only for a moment. He says it caused a fight between him and Robyn, and then asks if it was backstabby toward Meri. His answer? No, because he was already at war with Meri. So in Kody's mind, it's okay to screw someone over as long as you're not pretending to be their friend. Let that sink in for a second. According to him, it's only backstabbing if you're trying to play both sides. And that's how he paints Janelle, someone pretending to mediate when she shouldn't have been. Again, that mediation role should have been handled by lawyers, not emotionally exhausted people in crisis. And remember, all of this is happening while Janelle is deep in grief. Her son has just died by suicide. She's dealing with probate, selling his home, buying property in North Carolina, trying to start a farm, wanting to build a house. She clearly needed money. She wanted this chapter closed. She wanted out of Flagstaff. Meanwhile, Kody frames it as Janelle cozying up to Meri and pretending to care about Meri's interests. But from what we've seen, Kody has always gone to Janelle because she's easier for him to influence. He knows how to get her to comply. We've all seen how she lights up when he gives her even a little bit of approval. I truly believe that if Kody had met Janelle's needs, financially, emotionally, practically, she'd still be with him. She didn't leave because she suddenly saw the light. She left because her needs weren't being met anymore. And in that dynamic, Meri wasn't just an ex-wife, she was a rival. And during this same period, Janelle is also out there criticizing Meri on podcasts. But then you also see Janelle talking one-on-one with Meri on camera about the property, trying to present herself as a friend. Meri has every right not to trust either of them. Honestly, none of them should really trust one another. And this is exactly why everything should have gone through attorneys from the very beginning. I also don't buy Kody's argument that he wasn't being backstabby just because he wasn't pretending to be Meri's friend. If a conversation like that really happened, it's underhanded no matter who's involved. And frankly, I'm not even convinced the conversation happened the way Kody describes it. I don't think Janelle should have put herself in the middle of all this, especially while she was grieving. I don't think she should have tried to negotiate with someone like Kody. And I don't think she should have felt responsible for settling it herself. That's exactly why attorneys exist. At the same time, it's not fair for Janelle to act like Meri's ally while also working behind the scenes with Kody. Screwing anyone over, regardless of who it is backstabbing. At this point, though, it's hard to even tell who betrayed whom first. From Kody's own words, it doesn't sound like Janelle was sitting around trying to flatter Meri or play nice. She just wanted her money. She wanted to be done. And honestly, I get that. Kody says things like, if we lose the buyer, we lose the buyer, and frames Janelle as demanding, I want this, I want that, and if you don't do it, I'll do it myself. But I don't believe Janelle was pulling puppet strings or masterminding anything. I see survival, not villainy. This is exactly why polygamy fails. There's no real trust, because everyone has competing interests and limited resources. And when things fall apart, the women who were never legal wives have very little protection. Of course, Janelle would slip into survival mode. What other option did she really have? Janelle and Meri were never close. I think Janelle initially reached out to Meri because she couldn't get Kody on her side. If Kody had been willing to truly partner with her, I don't think she ever would have involved Meri at all. I think she believed that if she and Meri worked together, they'd have more leverage against Kody and Robyn. The problem is, she didn't keep her word. From Meri's perspective, that's the real betrayal. I thought we were a team. And now I find out you're talking to Kody without me. That would hurt anyone. I'd feel betrayed too. The difference between Meri and Janelle right now is that Meri seems further removed from the polygamy mindset. She's had therapy. She's stepped away. Janelle, on the other hand, is still stuck in those old patterns, and Kody can still manipulate her. Until Janelle fully cuts those emotional and psychological ties, Meri has no reason to trust her. And as long as Kody is still in the mix, none of them will ever fully trust each other. Kody will keep blaming Janelle, even though she's not the only one at fault. And Meri? She's getting played from all sides. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.